The findings from the first stage of the Cliffoney Community Plan will be presented in this video. I would like to express my thanks for the warm welcome I received during my visit to the area. To begin, I think it's important to quickly reflect on the fantastic work that you have done as a community thus far. This includes the creation of the Community Forum, which now also has charitable status, the reintroduction of the Tidy Towns after a long absence from the town, partnerships with the Men's Shed, beach cleanups, biodiversity projects, and other initiatives. It is critical to recognise that all of this work takes time and effort, and it gives solid foundations on which to develop new ideas and projects. You've reached another significant milestone by obtaining funding to create a community plan and hosting your first event on that journey. I appreciate everyone's time and energy on the night, including forum members who helped plan the workshop and assisted me by collecting feedback from each table. We had a great attendance for the first workshop, which sought to discover local residents' gifts, talents, assets and ambitions. Some critical points were raised when we asked people what they value most in their community. Areas such as togetherness, a safe and welcoming environment were all highlighted. But the question that stood out for me most was one of identity. What is the identity of Cliffoney? What are the distinct characteristics that sets your village apart from all other places? This next statement from a member of the community gets to the heart of that question. I just feel like Cliffoney is kind of forgotten. I think it is the most beautiful place. The landscape is amazing, the flora, everything. I would love to see it developed in a sustainable way. It's a gem. Many members of the community spoke of a town that has been forgotten or on the fringes of the county. We can look at this from a negative perspective and highlight how Cliffoney actually has been forgotten when it comes to funding and services. Or we could focus on the derelict buildings and get bogged down lamenting the changing nature of rural communities. But before we do that, I want to introduce an alternative approach. It comes in the form of a case study from Gothenburg in Sweden. In this city, it rains nearly 40% of the time. For years, the tourist agency would only sell pictures of sunny Gothenburg. And when tourists arrived, they would typically be disappointed as they were sold a different vision of the city. But rather than focus on the problems caused by the rain, something that is completely out of their control, the local authorities of Gothenburg put forward a bold alternative vision. They wanted to become the world's best rainy city. Rain becomes an asset when you build rain playgrounds or adapt the streets to come alive only when it rains. By taking this approach, Gothenburg has formed a new identity for their place. Which brings us back to the statement for Cliffoney. When I read it, I don't look at the word forgotten as something negative. Rather, I see the potential of a hidden, mysterious place, especially when we consider it alongside the wonderful natural landscape of the area. Between the mountains and the sea lies a hidden gem of Cliffoney. And it's not just me that has had this realization, as we can see from a recent tweet from the Wild Atlantic Way. But how do we take this a step further and own this identity for the area? Tap into the mysticism of the area, host secret garden parties, or mystery walking tours. By embracing this identity, Cliffoney can forge a new path for the village and move away from feeling forgotten. With this identity to work with, we need to then consider the values that shape the community. It was very clear from the first workshop and my time spent in the area that two values are most apparent. These are the considerations for the local environment and the importance of thinking about the area from an intergenerational perspective. If you can build a community that considers young and old and the natural environment, then you are putting in place the foundations to flourish. This identity and these values will help shape the next stage of the process, the local culture. And there are four main areas that emerged from the workshop. The artistic culture that brings the community together through drama, music and storytelling. History and heritage of the area that remembers the past that will shape the actions of the future. The culture of enterprise, from small businesses in the area creating employment, to markets providing an outlet for organic food and local produce. Recreation is also a huge asset in the area, from the local sports club and associations that bring people together through soccer or Gaelic games, to the walking groups and water sport enthusiasts. In our second workshop, we will listen to feedback from the community on everything presented in this video and begin putting in place actions to develop these four key areas. It is important to note that these actions will be informed by the values and the identity of the area as we previously discussed. Taken together, these three elements build community capacity, which is necessary to implement the actions that will be prioritised in the community plan. In the final stage of the process, we will shape the voice of the community. To communicate the actions that we create in the plan, the role of the community forum is to listen to local residents. And this is not just a static process, it's an ongoing engagement, with spaces such as the community hall providing vital space for these discussions. The final community plan will help to bring structure to these conversations and shape the future of the local area. Working together in this way, there is a united voice advocating for better community facilities. A great example of this is the civic action taken by local school children winning an award for their project on road safety in the town. Unfortunately, the community alone won't build the much needed bypass, but by speaking as one, in a unified voice, you can put pressure on to bring about change and speed up these processes that are needed to improve footpaths, transport services, and other areas of concern that are handled by local authorities. Finally, it is important to celebrate the work of community and shape the voice of the local area through rituals and routines and events that bring people together. The success of the Christmas Lights project is a good example of this in action, and something for the community to build on further through more events and more activities. Identity, values, culture, and voice. These are the 4 key elements that will make up the community plan for Cliffoney. We've made good progress to date crafting this story, but we need your feedback, and we hope that you will join us on October the 4th from 7:30 p.m. in the community hall for the next workshop. During this, we will take the next steps on the journey to create a community-led plan for the area, and we hope to see